When I was 21, I could deadlift 280 kilos, I could squat 220, and I could bench 140 for reps. My issue is that I was completely broken and injured. It took me 30 minutes just to warm up every single time before I had a session. I had to take painkillers to squat, and it honestly got quite boring in the end. I added 5 kilos here, 10 kilos there, and it didn't really mean anything to me. But it was the only way that I knew that I could make progress when it came to training and life. A buddy of mine actually then showed me calisthenics at this time in my life, and now my whole life changed. I own a calisthenics gym and I help other people get into calisthenics. So here are the reasons that I quit powerlifting to get into calisthenics. Now, before all of the lifters come swarming into this video, look, I love lifting. Guys, whatever gets you off the sofa, in my opinion, is the best thing possible. I've seen so many people's lives changed because they get into weight training and they're like, oh, this makes sense. All I have to do is progressively overload. I can go here, I can switch off my brain, I can listen to music, and it's just a really good thing for them. It's just, in my experience, that didn't work as well for me. I actually still use a lot of powerlifting principles and actually a lot of the training style in my training at the minute. I'm just giving an alternative viewpoint to some of you powerlifters out there who might want to get into more functional movement. And these are the 3 reasons why I switched to calisthenics. So number 1 is functionality. I got really good at working in planes of motion. So for example, picking things off the floor. I got really good at pushing things away from my chest. But the thing is life is multi-planar, right? You twist, you pick things up. And what happens, especially to me, was when I got really good at these movement planes, I actually, A, got super tight because my body wasn't strong in these other ranges of motion. But B, because I was so strong in these ranges of motion, when it came to things like running or jumping or balancing, I was awful. I remember I could barely do a few pull-ups, I could barely run a mile, but I was the strongest guy in the gym, right? And in my eyes, those two didn't link up. Strongest, yeah, I'm not capable. And for most of you guys watching at home, you probably just want to feel good. You know, you want to look in the mirror, be happy with what you see looking back at you. You want to not be injured. You want to look good on the beach. And also, you might want to have some fun. You know, for me, training is just a way to have fun. It's a good time. It's a social time. I don't want it to be something that I have to take painkillers. I have to warm up for half an hour. And when I'm actually doing it and I'm progressing, I'm not actually progressing to the goals that I really wanted. Now, if your goal is to just be jacked, like bodybuilder jacked, you want to compete in powerlifting, you want to compete in CrossFit, then you do your weights. You go pick up that barbell. You do CrossFit 50 clean and jerks for time. But for most of the world out there, that's just not their goals. And so in my eyes, calisthenics provides a different alternative for that. And the reason why is because calisthenics, you're usually working on super deep ranges of motion and also end ranges of motion. So for example, in powerlifting, we do this and we do this. In calisthenics, you do a full 360 almost range of motion. And I always say to people, like, we used to swing from trees. The shoulder is like a golf ball on a tee. That's how much bone on bone there is. We need to actually work the ligaments and tendons and work in that full range. And so it gives you that functionality. When you're working on things like rings, that the motherfuckers are literally moving around with you. And so it teaches your body how to stabilize and use the larger muscles. So rather than doing a pull-up with just your biceps, you're going to use your lats. And so overall, what I'm just saying is it gives you functionality, and that functionality allows you to train everything, and it actually allows you to be able to cope with life. Now, a little tip for you powerlifters out there. When I first got into calisthenics, I actually added in some calisthenics to my normal training. it was about a year and a half out of powerlifting, and a buddy of mine came up to me. He used to be he was still a powerlifter, and he said, "Hey, you calisthenics guy, come on, come get on the bench." And it was 140 loaded up on the bench, and I haven't done a single warm up. I just been doing some calisthenics before, and my previous max was just 140 pause, so 3 plates, and I literally ripped it for free. I hadn't done any lifting for a year and a half. No bench, no dumbbell bench, no nothing. All I've been doing was planche push-ups, planche work, ring dips, muscle ups, back levers. I went on that bench, I unracked it, it felt so stable and easy. And once it felt easy, I was like, oh my God, and it just flew for 3 reps. Number 2, chasing numbers. I think eventually for me, powerlifting got really, really boring because I was like, well, what's the difference with me going from 280 to 290? We all have these like arbitrarily defined numbers that we should be hitting. You know, you should have a 3-plate bench, a 4-plate squat, and a 5-plate deadlift, or a body weight, or like a 1.5 body weight bench, 2 body weight squat, 2.5 deadlift. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And I'll give you an example of this. When we first made Cali Unity and we were outside in the parks with some rings over a tree, kids used to come up to us, and mums used to come up to us, grandparents came up to us, and they wanted to get involved. They wanted to try it because they understood that this is strength. This is what strength looks like, and they wanted to try it out. If we were sitting there with benches, deadlifting, grunting, no one would have come up to us, and no one does in the gym. People find gyms extremely intimidating, and I think a big reason of that is because they just don't understand what lifting is, and also just people just don't get that strength. You know, we've defined strength as how much you can lift rather than how capable you are. And so it just got really boring for me. And in calisthenics, when you unlock a new movement or a weight, you're literally doing a new movement. So like going from a crow to handstand, you have to understand balance in like a handstand. And you literally are doing a completely new movement. Yes, if you've seen the skill swell, and I'd recommend going and checking it out, there are 7 planes of motion, and the technique is predominantly the same for each of those planes of movement. But overall, you're going to be progressing and doing completely new things. And I took the powerlifting approach and I applied that to calisthenics. So I looked at the 7 main lifts: push-ups, pull-ups, dips, overhead pushing, core, legs, and rotation, like skin the cats and core. And the technique is usually the same, but we can progress along the skill swell of new movements, okay? So for me, yeah, it just got boring, and chasing numbers got boring. But in calisthenics, you're never done until you can do like a 1-finger, 1-handed, 1-arm handstand push-up. Third one then is injuries. The reason why I was so injured was because I was chasing numbers and I was probably lifting too much compared to what I should do. And hey, maybe if you're a mum at home and you're just getting into weight training, like maybe not pushing it too much is actually the right limit. For me, I was high-end powerlifter, so maybe I was doing too much when it comes to the lifts and the training. But when it comes to injuries, I was so injured, I was so broken. All my buddies were so broken, injured. Now I run ultra marathons, I do Ironmans, I did Everest in a day, I did 103 kilometers in 22 and a half hours. I trained for 2-3 hours every single day. I'm in the best shape of my life I've ever been in, and I have absolutely 0 injuries. I'm actually more mobile than I've ever been in my life, and I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life. And I've helped, I was going to say thousands, probably not, overall maybe thousands, but definitely hundreds of people at my gym, Cali Unity, to get more mobile, to get more toned, and to be the strongest they've ever been in their life. So guys, there is another way of doing this. When it comes to powerlifting, you're just getting stuck in that plane of motion. You're getting stronger in a plane, yes, but you usually don't increase the range of motion. For example, when you're doing deadlifts, you just do the same range of motion all the time. Maybe if you started doing things like deficit deadlifts, that could be amazing. Or you do RDLs, or you do single leg deadlifts. That actually is a really, really good idea. But just doing squat, bench, deadlift and getting better at that, you get stuck in these planes of motion and your body doesn't know how to evolve past that. And for me, I found that I just got injured. And actually for loads of my friends and loads of my clients, they also got injured. So those are the 3 big reasons why I quit powerlifting and I got into calisthenics. Now guys, if you did like this, we have a whole community called the Bodyweight Movement, which you guys can join completely for free. I've got all the resources. We've got 50-page ebooks on how to get into calisthenics, how to get your first push-up, your first pull-up, your muscle-up, your handstand. We've got tons of videos. We've got a whole community, and we've got a weekly call in there where you guys can test your strength and actually see where you're at, and you can come back to it week on week. It's completely free. It's in the link in the description below, so go check that out if you do want to get into calisthenics. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.